And we're live on this Tuesday. We have a brand new day, a brand new time, and a brand new co-host. Just for today, we're bringing in, the one and only. He's been youth team Canada 4 times. He's been 4 or 5 times the adult team. He's collegiate singles champion, Pan Am doubles champion, world trios champion, collegiate team champion, PBA Rookie of the Year. Oh, yeah, and he won a couple of U.S. Opens. The one and the only, Francois Lavoie.
How's it going, Barnzy?
Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Stu, no worries.
His mother-in-law has been living with him, throughout this pandemic. So I'm not sure if this is just a personal health day for Stu, or I think she might have had an appointment. They had to be there. So.
Is it paid time off, or is that a personal day?
I'm going to say at least it's a personal health day, and whether it's paid or not, I think he made a little money over the weekend. He bowled with Pete Thomas in Oklahoma, and
that can't be bad.
He was able to completely scam a win out of something he had no business winning. But that's the way it works, right?
Yeah.
Well, we do have a guest, and it's somebody that you're actually familiar with, Frankie, right?
Yeah.
You spent a little time on the lanes with him. Let's get back to his. I did have it marked off. There you go. He's a new member of Global, of course. He's a PBA Player of the Year in 2012. He has 15 titles, and he just recently won the PBA Clash. Sean Rash.
Good morning. What a wonderful intro. Having some history with Frankie. Thanks for the reminder.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you don't. First dig of the day.
Not that much actually. Surprisingly, for this is kind of like the Wichita State alumni show too. So we spanning generations of Wichita State and the PBA. So
decades difference.
Decades even.
Yeah.
Speaking of history, I guess we could just start right off with that. Not too long ago, you guys got to play each other, and
Frankie bowled a different tournament than I did that day.
just on that day, yeah.
As I was watching it back, that's a little bit what it looked like. Let's see, there it is.
Yeah, I remember quite a bit about it. I felt like we both bowled really well that week. And for some reason, on Fox in the championship match, that was fun. Where if he doesn't throw the front 5, that game's 170, 180 pretty easily. So
yeah. I think that's what most of us were expecting out of the scores too. When you said 170, 180, we didn't really think there were going to be some high scores on that show, because the pattern was brutal to begin with, and the whole no practice on TV deal, the whole topography on that pair, they just weren't easy at all. So we weren't expecting high scores, and I somehow found that early 5-bagger that was pretty big.
I basically showed this frame because, one, it was the only strike that shone through, and
one more. 2 strikes.
But that one was on purpose.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty amazing watching your ball get to a spot about 2 right of that, and it would do none of the wrong things. It would go both ways off of it, and Frankie had it going pretty good here.
Yeah, I think it would have been way better off. I said this in someone else's interview, where I should have moved right in my practice shots, kind of like what Belmo was doing with urethane, and would have had a way better chance to bowl 210.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we did on the fresh on that pattern. I actually started at 7-8-9 with a really strong symmetric ball, and we watched those. The first practice shots that Bill O'Neill threw in the first match was pretty friggin' impressive to watch. It go everywhere. And like Frankie said, we knew that 170 or 180 was good, especially, I sat down before the final match in the practice range, and I said, yeah. And
that didn't work out very well.
no, well, I mean, it would have, because it would have beat my 180 game, right? So, yeah, start off with that 5-bagger, and we're solid. So,
yeah. I mean, I can't really speak for you, and I don't know what you saw when you got to the pair. But when I went there, obviously the right lane was a lot tighter, and the left lane I think I got 6 practice shots, and I think I only threw 2 on the right lane, and I had to use 4 on the other lane because I threw a shot and went through the face, and I moved left and it still hooked and it went through the face, and I moved left again and it still hooked and went through the face, and then by the last practice shot, I made a bigger move left, close to where you actually bowled. And after those practice shots, I came back and I said, listen, I've got 2 options. I can either go even further left and hope that it gets through it. It's not going to overhook, or I just try to get further right and right of where I threw my practice shots and just try to get soft with it. And that's what I ended up going with. Obviously, in hindsight, that was probably the right thing to do. But I was kind of exactly. I was contemplating. I didn't know if I was going to go back right or if I was going to try to go even further left. So.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a smart call. My practice shots were just atrocious. Again, I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention to what Belmo was doing with urethane. It seemed a lot easier. I said this, and no offense to you, but I think if he would have thrown that double when he thought he aced it on the left lane in 2-8-10, if he would have struck there, I think he runs the ladder with urethane as good as he is with urethane from 8, 9, 10, and
right.
Starts to slow hook it after a couple games. He would have been extremely hard to beat. I think you and I both got lucky not to have to bowl him personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But it was a great week. First time I'd ever made a show at the U.S. Open. First time I'd ever led. Both for the title. One of the ones that I think we all want to win. You both have won it. Definitely on my bucket list. Hopefully, can get there again. But I've got a couple other ones that are just as special. So, but would love to get to the show again at the U.S. Open. It's one of the hardest events we bowl.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-oh. And we got more alumni popping in. Casey Slaughter.
Hopefully he's staying safe with all the, being a cop there in Wichita. I'm sure trouble everywhere. God, I can't imagine what his life is like right now.
Yeah, we talked a little bit the other day. He said he's really busy. I think he's saying everybody on the force has to work basically every day, long hours, just work and sleep at this point for him.
But
yeah, my mom's popping in here this morning.
Yeah, there's a couple people on here that I've seen in the past.
Well, a new time and a new day, and we're kind of sliding into Storm has gone to 3 days a week, and so Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning work out a little bit better than the afternoon now with trying to get some practice in and doing some things. So
must be nice to practice.
We're going to at least try on Tuesday. We'll see if we may do an evening show on Thursday and kind of see how things go from there. So I saw a question here earlier about, are you still dealing with injuries?
Yeah, of course I got a few. I don't have anywhere to practice really. Bowling centers don't open up until the 26th. I know we'll sneak into a few places here and there, but very light practice. Pretty surprising to win the show last weekend, to be honest. I don't think any of us were sharp. I think EJ's the only one really practicing, one because he owns his own bowling center. Bowled a little bit. He was probably the second most practiced guy, and then Kyle Troop. But the rest of us, you could tell, we're not sharp. Thank God we bowled on something fairly easy. We would have bowled on the U.S. Open. That would have been a train wreck. Yeah, it'll be nice to start practicing a little bit. The injuries, Chris, you've had a few. I don't think they ever go away, right? I mean, you do the wrong thing or
here.
Yeah. It's part of getting old, right? But I fixed the span thing with my middle finger. I was having some issues with my middle tendon right after the TSC, and it's one of the reasons why I struggled so much the last 4 events. I was really actually happy that we had to take a break. and not bowl the playoffs or the Masters. It probably helped me more than anything. And hopefully I'm sharp and ready to go whenever we do start bowling again, which, I mean, we do have an event coming up, in a couple events in July, and then that's it until whenever we get announcements for the league and World Series finals and everything else.
I think we have some of the best fans in bowling, and they come with a great question. So, does Sean have a nickname out on the lanes?
Not that I can remember. I mean, I had one kid for a long time, and I didn't appreciate it, but everyone else got a good laugh out of it.
There's been a few over the years. Anything you like? What nickname would you have for yourself?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not very quick on that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's a good one. Maybe we should find someone to get me a nickname that actually makes sense, doesn't trash me, and fun and rhymes really well.
Let's see. Some questions about the Booyah Pro and the Pink Fury. You've probably thrown them more than anybody. Yeah.
So for me, the Booyah Pro, I actually like this urethane ball here. Shocker, right? Urethane bowling ball, but it has some reactive in it, so it clears the front a lot easier than most urethanes. It doesn't, slow down. I don't feel like I have to throw it so hard. And then the Pink Fury, what a great, solid, symmetric bowling ball that complements the White Badger for us. So you got one that's a solid, and then you got a pearl, and I threw a little bit there during the strike derby and the clash and everything. So really liked the compliment, and it was one of the last couple balls made down in San Antonio.
Well, guess who's up this morning? Well, I guess it's afternoon over there.
He's probably still just waking up.
I'm gonna guess that he probably just woke up.
Yeah.
Well, we decided to just swap hosts, so I guess then that gets you one. So you get Stu, and everybody's happier, I think. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, I think Stu might not be happy with that one.
And Stu's buddy here, always coming in hot. Major improvements, replacing Stu with Francois. There we go. Two versus 0.
Same look, same haircut, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a deal there, right? Like he can't use your towel. Is that?
No, he's got it. It's his now. We made some modifications to the towel, so now it says 0-time U.S. Open winner. Yeah, it's his.
I like it. This. See, we got a couple others here. This one, you just won the Clash, so maybe we'll just talk about this a little bit. I guess first of all, you've been in a strike contest before.
I've been in a few. Yeah, there's been a couple good ones through the years. Andrew. You
can play this one a little bit. I thought they made a great modification, adding in the third lane here. But in this one, you were bowling Andrew Anderson for the last spot on the show. Is that thing's crazy? And that was the prize. You got to bowl with her.
Yeah, that was a terrible prize, right?
Oh, well, I thought it was a very calculated move on your part, with being married and Andrew being single. I'm sure that's what's going on here. Is you're just throwing off. So
yeah, I definitely threw off. Andrew needed it way more than I did, but the biggest difference between this with the 2 lanes here, the racks were so much faster. One of the reasons why we had to add a 3rd lane down in Jupiter was the racks just couldn't keep up. After 2 times on each lane, we were waiting for pins to go through it, and the biggest reason was Kyle Troop was bowling too fast, and he was our kind of guinea pig on Friday practicing some stuff, and
yeah,
he's sitting there waiting for the rack. So the 3rd lane hurt and helped us. It gave us 5 or 6 more shots than people would have got. If you watch this closely, I think I had 14 shots. Andrew had 13 in the 2 minute on 2 lanes. So that 3rd lane definitely gave us a couple extra shots. And we didn't have to worry about any kind of malfunctions. There were, I think, 2 hiccups during the strike derby where pins kind of just fell off spot and guys went to the next lane. And then
we didn't see that, but I knew something happened at one point.
Yeah, because we were supposed to go left, middle, right, and a couple of guys jumped over a couple lanes. I think it was the middle lane both times, where a pin just fell, so they skedaddled to the next lane. But it was a lot of fun to be a part of that one there at the Chris Paul event, which is a great charity, and he does so much for the sport when he gets a chance to. And then this last one we just did over the last couple weekends. So
that was pretty cool. I thought it was a good show, and it was entertaining for sure. And
yeah, both of them were, right. Depending on if you like.
Well, depending on how long you went was how entertaining that second was, probably for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yours was really entertaining for you, at least. So
yeah,
a couple of us, Bill and I threw a lot of shots. Sean Maldonado definitely threw a lot of shots in the second round. He probably threw more shots than Bill, honestly, with our 7 or 8 ball roll off. And that could have gone either way. You got to survive everything. So
in the strike derby, what do you think? Do you think being a two-hander is an advantage because you're not putting your thumb in the ball every shot?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Simonson got off a lot. I mean, he was going pretty quick, but he did get off a lot of shots. And you got someone like Tommy who just kind of jams his thumb in. He obviously wasn't going to get as many shots in as Simonson.
No, so everyone had 17 or 18 minimum. It looked like I think one round Tommy had 16. I think Prather had 16 one round, but Simonson had 19, 20, and 20.
Yeah,
just a ton of shots, and definitely an advantage not putting your thumb in it. If Simonson would have thrown backup balls if he could hold on to it. That was one of the reasons he didn't throw balls, and he probably would have struck more, just because he was so good at it during the clash. But what an impressive feat to watch Simonson throw backup balls during the clash.
That was pretty crazy. That's a great segue. Why don't we just throw that one up there? We'll go ahead and go to this. And I started off with that on purpose because
social distancing to trash talk. You just can't get too close, right?
It's crazy how good this is. It's one thing to throw it up the gutter, but to wheel, I mean, that puts him in the top 5 of the ability to cover boards on the left lane. You got Jacob and Jesper.
Oh,
Anthony might be third with like Sanders.
Yeah, he becomes top 5 on the left side of the lane, and he's already top 5 in my opinion in the world right now on the right side of the lane. So you got a double threat there that now with him practicing and owning his own kind of facility out in Vegas, Simonson's gonna do some crazy things over the next decade. I just hope that it's not against myself or maybe even you guys. I would think the same way, but matches.
Yeah, and he's not even the kind of guy who sees this as something too crazy. We had him on our show last week, and we asked him about it, and he said, it's just a tool, just like anybody else, just like anything else. We play around with rotation, with speed, with loft, with all that stuff. So in his mind, he just sees this as an extra tool that he has. It just happens to be a tool that really nobody else has.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if Belmo doesn't practice it more. He's able to throw it slow enough. I don't think Osku can do it because he throws it so hard. You think about the other two-handers out there, I just don't see it possible.
Well, it's one thing to do it. It's another to believe that you can beat people doing it. And
correct.
Some of that comes with youth, too, that you believe you can pretty much just do whatever you want and nothing bad will happen. And, I mean, he's already ruined Matt Sanders' career as it is. So it's pretty crazy to think that you've won a title from the right side and left side of the lane, from the left gutter cap, and I don't know if he's won one from basically the right gutter also, but I know he can play there. I think hands down he has the title now of most versatile player. His ability to play the other side of the lane pretty much sets him well apart of anybody else. So you were pretty good in this final here.
Yeah, the body started to loosen up a little bit. At the beginning of this show, we had sat for 30 minutes, and EJ sat for almost 45 minutes before we threw a shot. So when you saw the first round of strikes, it was shocking that we had 23 out of 26 strikes. And 6
There
or
was no practice lane over there? That's what we were wondering.
Nope.
Oh.
We asked, and
Wow.
it just didn't look good, so we sat there on the side.
Yeah.
We threw a couple shots.
Shocking. Competition doesn't matter. Just as long as it looks good.
It was fat. I mean, it was fast paced the last couple of rounds, but those first couple of rounds, you waited a long time.
You guys all came out firing. I mean, everybody struck. It was crazy.
Yeah. I think I had the advantage after my win in the roll-off against Maldo because it started to pick up pace, and I was pretty much warm and ready to go, where these people my competitors are waiting 5, 6, 7 minutes between shots and, past the third round.
I was going in a little bit there.
Yeah, I had I think the 3 shots against Maldo, I hit 2, 4, and 6. And he finally looked at me and said, "Hey, can you throw a good shot?" And no, I hadn't practiced. I was definitely.
It wasn't just a lane strategy.
Oh no!
If you don't throw it at the same spot, you can't break it down.
Correct. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Left lane hooked way more than the right lane, and then even in the strike derby, the right lane 11, I guess 9, 10, 11, even 11 was tighter than so. Going through that process, it was shocking to be able to throw the same ball on the whole, 9 rounds or so to say. There was a lot.
I'm shocked it wasn't a title, but
hey, I'm still waiting to get the title from the China Cup, so I'm waiting for that one to show up.
Oh. But you'll have another chance here shortly. I heard they had another 17-frame format coming up. You guys win another title at so.
Yeah, everyone doesn't like the PBA Tour Finals. I think it's a great event.
Great event. It's a great exhibition.
Yeah. Well, there's some money up for grabs. There's a title up for grabs.
There's 200,000 up for grabs. It didn't make it a title. It just made it an exhibition.
Well, kind of. I mean, I only won 20, but yours was kind of the same way, right? Strike or go home.
Just in the first round, then we bowled 6-frame matches.
Yeah.
So really, yours is long format, so I guess I get it. Yeah. I mean, you guys are both like 6 games. So
7 matches would be great.
Well earned. So never mind. Moving on. I'll get off my lawn. And so you had a pretty good success rate when you first came out. You won the first 4 times you bowled on TV. And so Phil wants to know, why do so many of the kids have trouble breaking through quickly?
I think there's a lot of reasons. I think it's one of not being open-minded and listening. I think one of the reasons I had a lot of.
Wait. You're saying your superpower when you first came on tour was being open-minded and listening?
I had some good mentors.
Come on now.
Yeah.
But I backtrack that, start over. I'll let you just rewind that. Start over.
I listened to you and I listened to Parker.
You did not. You did what you wanted to do. Maybe that's why you won.
Yeah, probably. But I think that is a big reason, though, is people just don't listen, right? Like, I know I'm kind of putting my foot in my own mouth there, but I was always kind of eavesdropping on you, Walter, Parker, Tommy. I was always trying to find how you guys were being so successful. And, my first year on tour, I didn't win until West Virginia. I missed all those cuts in the PTQs, but, I would practice in between blocks. A lot of guys don't practice. I don't get it. If they're missing cut after cut after cut, how are you not there practicing on Friday afternoon in between squads and taking advantage of bowling on tougher patterns and working with your ball rep or even with some of your competitors and peers. So I did that a lot. And I think that really helped my career to start off. You look at other guys that came out the same time I did, Fagan, Bill, and Rhino. The main 4 of us were kind of the college players, and then the PBA. I had a lot more success than Bill did to start. I don't know why. He was on tour before I was, and just as gifted, in my opinion.
I have a theory, but
yeah, I'd love to hear it one day. But yeah,
well, I mean, you listen, so I guess
Yeah, I would. But Fagan struggled there for a while. Only had 5 titles, and God, he's got all kinds of tricks.
Yeah, I do think guys that use more touch will struggle, especially early on TV, because the adrenaline is so much different on TV. And typically guys that don't mind grabbing after it and having a higher grip pressure to begin with adjust to that environment faster. Plus, they make it doing that most of the time.
Correct. Yeah,
Over the years, I mean, Jim Pensack has the best TV record. I mean, he's not in the realm, but he did one thing exceptionally well, and when he made the shows, that's what he was doing. Tommy, when he came out, he was going to throw it hard, and it was going to be from around that middle pointy thingy, and it was going to go over to the other side. And he was pretty good at doing that, and the nerves didn't bother him that way either. I think some of the younger players now are much more well-rounded, maybe than I was, or some of the other guys were. And so the more touch you use to make some of those shows, it's harder to find that feel if you're a feel guy on those first shows. There's so much adrenaline going. I don't know anybody who can really. They can manage it somewhat, but it's so much different feeling. You can't create it ahead of time. So
yeah.
I think it's tough to, I always loved putting on a show, right? Like that was one of the first things Benoit told me was, hey, you're an entertainer, go put on a show. Steve Miller said it too, we want to see some excitement, do whatever the hell you want, say whatever you want. And, I enjoyed it, the spotlight and everything else. It was, I was enjoying living my dream and not worried about any of the consequences. And I had all the support in the world for whatever I said or did. And I think I fed off of that better than some of my opponents did.
There's somebody else there that you just posted his comment. Somebody else was waiting for a title. Waiting for the retroactive title from Korea.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he ain't gonna get that.
He's obviously back from his fishing trip. We hadn't seen him in a while, so I on APB and answered that he was indeed in live, so we didn't have to worry. But great having you back, AJ. Really, I mean it. What else do we have? You say we have the Clash coming up. You can talk about that. That's going to be 8 guys. You're among that group.
Yeah, the PBA Tour Finals, July 17th, 18th, 19th, CBS Sports Network. It's the 3rd year they've done it. We were in Miami or Orlando a couple years ago. Last year was in Vegas, where I just missed out. Different format, small group, not many games, but some good exposure for our sport, good exposure for the 8 guys that get to go, based off of points over the last couple of years. And then right after that's the Lucy Beno doubles. And then for me, I'm done. Like, I don't know about you guys, but there's not a whole lot to bowl, if anything, in August, especially since there's nothing open up here. Texas has got all kinds of stuff going on right now. So I'll bowl these 2 events. My daughter's due in about 15, 20 days. So I got plenty to do at home, plenty left to prepare to get done. So hopefully the PBA League, takes place in September, October. That was the time frame they were looking at. I'm sure they're working diligently on that. And, of course, the rest of the stuff too, the World Series and the playoffs and everything else.
So these next couple of events coming up, the PBA Tour Finals, I assume that's also going to be with no fans. What was your experience bowling with nobody in the stands? I know what it was like at the World Championship, but it's been a few more events now. What did you think of it?
That's a great question. I haven't heard from Tom or Coley about fans or no fans in July. Interesting enough, while we were down in Florida a couple weeks ago, the PGA announced their first weekend of fans would be that same week in July. Florida is pretty much open. I can tell you guys that when my dad and I left to drive down there, we never wore a mask. Anywhere we went, Louisville when we stopped for lunch, in Atlanta for dinner, and then in Florida the whole time. Like, they didn't require it. We wore it in the bowling center when we went in there, but the bowling center was packed. Like, we wore it just to stay away from everybody else. but when I was practicing, I don't compete with it on or practice with it on. So I don't know. I'm hopeful that there'll be some fans, maybe let in a handful or a select group, maybe 20 to 50, for first serve. But as of right now, I have no idea. I would guess, but I know that the PBA League, one of the biggest reasons they pushed it back from what I was told was they want the fans to be there, right? Portland, what makes it happen is our fans there. They're just unbelievable. So who knows?
Yeah, I think just from watching it, it was really weird at the World Series, in the World Championship, because I think, well, first of all, we didn't expect the pandemic to start while we were there, so that was that all took everybody by surprise. So just seeing all the empty space was just really strange, and then obviously being the first event with no fans made it just extremely weird. But this time around, it seems like with the huge screens that they had in the back, the LED screens, they've made it look, at least on TV, they've kind of taken away the empty space, so it's not like you're seeing just an empty bowling center. So visually, I think it looked better that way, but it's got to be a different atmosphere and a different feeling for the guys bowling when you're used to turning around and having everybody clap for you and cheer for you.
Yeah, they had a huge, backboard there. It was awesome. I would have to anticipate the show for CBS will be the same way with all the sponsors, and kind of shut it off to where you just see I'm sure we'll be on lane 9 and 10 again. So you see just the Bolero signs on the side of the wall. I didn't think of it too much, to be honest. The fans not being there. There's still the PBA staff, a select few family members. My dad was with me because he drove 20 hours off on the side. So, in between shots, I could go talk to him about some stuff. And that was it. It was okay. It was kind of like a exhibition with your competitors, practice session, realistically, more than anything. And we were putting on a show, and that's what we were supposed to do. And from what it looks like, the ratings were okay for both shows, which is good. Prime time on Fox. That's awesome that they gave us that opportunity. And, look forward to the next couple TV shows that we have coming up.
Thanks, Russell. Yeah, we got AJ's back, but I'm still here, baby.
Yeah.
And AJ, appreciate it. Truly feel the love, like literally almost never. Yeah.
We'll start getting more love soon. He just probably needs the win, I guess, right?
Is Prather Player of the Year? Not unless there's a couple more majors he won that.
Yeah.
It is possible. We're adding majors by the day, but simply no.
Yeah. I'm pretty
sure. A year, and the playoffs is a big part of that, but that was last year for one. And no, I mean, Belmont is far and away, I think, has had the best year.
If Prather, I think if Prather would win the Masters, if it happens, it puts them side by side. I mean, they both would have 2 majors. Belmo, though, wins the Slam. Everyone talks about records and stuff like that. And then it would come down to the playoffs, in my opinion. But I think Prather has to win the Masters.
Yes, both, probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, he does have some animal patterns that he could win, so who knows, right? He's in second place as of right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't get you the trophy, but you also got Bill. Bill's had a pretty good stellar year too.
Just got to get maybe an outside swing, but
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because it usually comes down to whoever wins certain majors and maybe another title or two. But the last couple of years, it seems like if Belmo's winning two majors a year, then there's really not much of a discussion there.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't. He makes half the shows that he's on. It's just tournaments.
Yeah.
It just makes there's not a lot of room because the backup resume is also. Yeah. We only won twice. Well, there's also a second and a third and another third and a. Not only does it qualify, but it doesn't limp into very many of those shows either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of high seeded. His off weeks, he's qualifying third for those shows, and that makes it tricky.
Yeah, I definitely would. I would think, like I said, I think Prather has to win the Masters, possibly the finals of the playoffs.
There has to be a Masters.
Correct. I don't know how the USBC is going to pull off a Masters, to be honest, but hopeful that we have something to bowl in October, November, December, besides the World Series and the playoffs. But as of right now, just grateful that I got to compete in the last couple of weekends, and looking forward to competing in July.
Just joined the Frankie Lavoie happy hour drink.
Did I have no? This is an early morning show. This is like senior. I had to wake up. I had to set an alarm for this.
I know it. We've been at 2 p.m. This is like a real schedule here.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, but I thought about it this morning.
Blue and coffee? I don't know.
You could have had your Bloody Mary. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, well, hair of the dog. There you go.
Maybe some Baileys in the coffee.
Yeah. Well, I've been up since about 6:37, so whenever you have kids, you'll know what that's like. Chris is all now, but he remembers those days, I'm sure.
Yeah, my daily schedule has definitely shifted during this whole lockdown thing. It's not so much waking up at 8 and going to bed at midnight anymore. It's more like waking up at 11 or noon and going to bed at 3 or 4.
Probably a midday afternoon nap, I'm guessing.
Yeah, lunch right after lunch at 4 o'clock.
We did that a lot. There was a lot there at the beginning. We were on full college time.
Yeah.
Just rolling out the crack of noon or 1 and having some breakfast and then lunch around 4 and dinner again about 9.
Yeah.
And going to bed at 2 or 3. So Craig Elliott wants to know if anybody's going to the Mexico Open in August.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I signed up for it.
$10,000.
That will make that the strongest field it's been in ever. So
yeah.
And it's completely full, I believe, as well. Although, as usual, I mean, everybody signs up until they have to pay. So I believe by the end of the month they have to start getting some checks in. So there'll probably be a few spots, but it is going to go. It's much like Lucy. It's going to, I think, 4 squads to try and accommodate everybody.
That's great. Yeah. Awesome to run a tournament. What are the procedures? What are the protocols?
Well, I can tell you what they've been so far.
Nothing.
Well, the first doubles thing I went to bowl in San Antonio, there ended up being a trios the weekend before. And I didn't really know much about it. I got thrown on a team, Jeff Hartsfield, Stephanie Schwartz. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty solid team. Go have some fun. I was halfway through the first game, and I found I was a Swiss. Every game, the field gets reorganized. So every game, you're moving across the whole center back and forth the whole day. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm pretty on the it's going to be all right kind of thing and going to catch it or whatever, but I don't feel like at-risk person. So, be careful who I'm around after I come back from these things. But that just seemed like a terrible idea. But, I mean, it's 2 weeks ago and literally have not had one person, heard one person being sick. So.
Yeah, I think a lot more people are immune to it than they think, asymptomatic. After my dad and I got home, we actually went and got tested immediately on that Monday night. So it's been 8 days now since I've been tested with the swab up the nose, which is very uncomfortable. So I don't recommend practicing anything like that. But thankfully both of us turned out negative. My next goal is to go get the antibody test soon, which I'm going to guess that I've probably got the antibodies for. I feel like I've had this already, just like everybody else feels like they might have had it through November to February. I know a lot of us were sick January, February. As much as we travel and as many people, I really thought if any of us got it, would have been in Las Vegas. You guys don't gamble like I do, but playing with a bunch of dirty chips and being around hundreds of people that are tourists, I'm pretty sure we were exposed to it. I don't know.
Slots coming in says you've been waking up at 6:30 since college.
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't drink in college, so I probably was awake. I probably went to bed at a good hour.
It's easier to get up.
It does. But they, this Andy Patterson just talked about this guy being tested positive in a tournament out west. And there was one in California too. Nobody else, just the one guy. Knock on wood. Drew Parkin said he had drilled his equipment, a couple of days prior, and people have it. It's part of life. And
I don't want to get too much of a political discussion on this, but it's just been interesting that the different attitudes. Obviously, I'm talking to people in the Northeast and like in Chicago and places where the media and the general overall philosophy is this is serious, and there's been a lot of reported deaths around, and then down here there's been very, very few comparatively.
Yeah.
No more different than other years, and so people are not they're just not worried about it, and whether they should be or not is a much better question. But
yeah, no, I agree with you completely, Chris. I mean, I'm worried about it for my father's health, my mother's health, and anybody over the higher age. But, we hang out with 3 or 4 couples in our neighborhood, and we've been around each other for 3 months, like since I've been home. I've been home almost exactly 3 months, and we see each other almost daily because of our kids. So we'd have no more than 10 people at a time, adult-wise. We have between the 5 camp. But we have a neighbor that despises us and hates us because we're hanging out on the weekends or, weekends or weekdays, just a couple of us.
that's not why.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on off this question. Gary Parsons, he asked this a lot. He's one of the smarter guys in the game, actually, and been around the shop business and coaching business a long time. So over the years, this is the short version. I know you can talk about this for 25 minutes, but the primary influences in learning the game, primary instructors, teachers, mentors, and how important was that in your development of becoming a player?
Well, for me, my coaches growing up in Alaska really were some of the guys that I hung out with on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. And then I had a couple coaches in juniors. Once I got to college, though, Gordon Vatican, Mark Lewis, 2 of the best, I think you guys would agree with, of all time. I've been blessed to be part of the junior and Team USA programs. Fred Borden is right up there. The opportunities to train at the ITRC too with some special equipment. Influencers, though, really, of guys like Johnny Petraglia, Parker Bone, yourself, Chris, and a few others. When I first started on tour, kind of saying, hey, the goods and bads of what to do and not to do. I've had some tremendous ball reps through the years, whether it's or just support groups. And now I've got a new, set of ball reps that are younger and, competitors compared to the other ones I've had where they were older and more kind of coachers or clappers or, positive influencers. Completely different atmosphere from what I've been with. Rick Benoit was a lane guy. Chuck Gardner was a big support guy. Now you got Sean Ryan and Tim Mack, who are competitors, but also very smart with bowling balls. Way different for me. So, and that's where I'm at now. So it's been a blessing to have the full circle, I guess you would say, of coaches through my career and influencers.
Frankie, what about you?
Yeah, I think Gordon Vatican and Mark Lewis, I think we all have those 2 guys in common. I've had, for a few years now, I've had a really good relationship with the guy who used to coach Team Canada, Tyrell Rose.
Yeah, that's a name I hear a lot now.
Yeah, him and I, we started working together in 2013, I think. So right when I was in the middle of my college career here, and we just get along really well. We work really well together. He's gotten very knowledgeable as a coach, and I think that's one of the things that makes him good too. Is he's willing and he loves to learn the coaching side of things. It's not like he was always a good coach, but he's just learning as he goes, and he's very good at adapting and at implementing what he learns. So him and I have had a really good relationship over the last couple of years, and I think one of the big things is just bowling. just competing. There's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of people that are going to influence you, and we have tremendous ball reps. I've been really lucky to work with some of the best: Tim Mack, Jim Callahan, now Sean Ryan, Del Ballard. When I first came out on tour, was still out there. But just competing, I mean, there's a reason why someone like Simonson got as good as he is at a young age, is because he's bowling all the time. You can practice as much as you want. And I've always thought that there's a lot of practicers out there that don't really perform well when it comes time to compete, just because, being able to repeat the same thing over and over again, that only gets you so far. You have to be able to manage transition. You have to be able to throw shots, to make cuts, to win tournaments and things like that. So competing, I think, is a really, really important thing in a player's development, on top of getting obviously some really good coaches.
I would use Jason Sterner and Patrick Allen in my career as two great examples of what Frankie just said. You got Jason Sterner, who practices all the time, in my opinion, doesn't compete enough. I've always tried to, when I was with Brunswick with him, I would try to beg him to go bowl because I thought the guy has a lot of talent. And then PA practiced all the time also, but he would compete in everything. And just look at the difference in careers. That's just my opinion on those two about the practice thing too. When I was in college, I used to tell Gordon, hey, I'm taking off to go bowl. When I started bowling for money, I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be able to bowl this college tournament. And he's like, okay. And I always thought he would be like, well, you got to bowl the college tournament. He wanted me to go compete at a higher level to help when I got back for the college finals. And just a completely different mindset.
Yeah, that was one of the things that's actually one of the things that was kind of frustrating for us when we were in college, is that, you go to a college tournament and you maybe don't perform so well, and then you come back and you practice for however long until the next college tournament, maybe a month later. Well, those 3 weekends in between, there's a bunch of stuff to bowl around the Midwest that we could drive to, but the whole team wasn't necessarily committed to bowling as much as the rest of us were. So for us, it was frustrating to see that our teammates could be out there competing and getting better, but they chose not to. There's thinking of college, Rick Benoit came a few times. That's how I met him when I was in college. I bowled with his son Kenny. He's one that I forgot to mention earlier, but he's had a pretty big influence on me. I think he's known to be one of the best. And Ty, the Team Canada coach that I work with, has also learned a lot from Rick. So I think the whole Bull U mindset, the whole philosophy, kind of gets translated from Rick to Ty and to me. So those have been some of my influences.
For sure. I want to say, yeah, when I first met Ty, he was kind of a former player, and just somebody that's helping out, doing the right thing, and over time, reading his stuff and listening to him talk and the information he's gathering, he's done a great job. I think he's in that select group of coaches worldwide now that I think really influencing. He's not on the tour, and so the tour guys don't really know that much about him. He's not getting as much credit,
right?
But when he's ready to, I think he could have as much exposure as he wants, because I think once people get around him, they will appreciate what he's bringing to the table for sure.
Yeah, I think, we always talk about players developing and getting better at their craft as competitors, but we don't always talk about coaches developing and getting better. And I think he's done a really good job at that. It makes me feel pretty lucky, because it's not like we have a ton of really good coaches come out of Canada. And if we do, they usually get under contract from another country.
They have to go somewhere else to get paid.
Because exactly. Because other countries have more funding and they have more money to pay them. So it makes me feel pretty lucky to be able to work with Ty. We've had good coaches in the past, but like I said, Frank Buffa still runs the biggest distribution center up in Canada. He's worked in Qatar. He's worked in the Middle East. Craig Woodhouse now works in the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, I think.
Yeah.
We had Bill Rowe for a while. We've had a lot, but they almost always leave. So
yeah. Well, even in the U.S., you can't really make a lot of money coaching the U.S. team, so you end up going somewhere else if that's what you want to do. That's where you have to go.
The other guy that I worked with for so long was Billy Orlikowski. Just a great bowler. Helped that both worked at Brunswick, right? Helped bowling balls, and physical game. You could just see it. Like, he was that guy that I could drive to Muskegon and work with quite a bit. So I always loved when he came out on tour because he got it right, like what Timmy Mack does now, and Sean Ryan, where it's, hey, I know how to bowl and everything else. So
Linda's evidently on my official page running that today. So she said, gosh, I know it's come up a couple of times already, the PBA Junior thing, and I don't have any inside information on it other than the press release you've written, but I do want to talk about it for just a minute before we wrap things up. And it seems like a pretty cool program. Let you guys talk.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie might still be able to be a member, as young as he is. But
yeah, can we have dual membership?
yeah. I actually called our CEO this morning to ask her some information about it, just in case it got brought up. And
I find some irony in that real quick, coming from the guy who bowled juniors till he was about 24. So
I was 20 years old. Stop it.
215. Yeah, I'm still bowling against little Frankie. 14-year-old Frankie. Fair fight. All right.
I got to do him then. But they're going to have a whatever, I think it's September 4th, 5th, 6th weekend. They're going to have regionals across the country, and then they'll have finals. And it's a fan club. Every major league sport has a fan club. Major League Baseball, football, basketball. I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that could have started a long time ago. Opportunities for the juniors to talk to their professionals, up close and personal, autographs, whatever it is. No other organization is offering that. So why not the PBA? So hats off to the PBA for this junior membership. And I look forward to, like I'm sure you two do as well, helping out, teach the next generation of players and help them.
Well, it sounds like it's more than just a fan club too. They're providing some competition, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and scholarship money. I mean, that's a good thing. I think I know my kids need scholarship money, whether they bowl or not is another question.
Well, mine do for sure. So, speaking of which, my son's going to be coming to join Frankie up at Wichita. So,
that's right. Yeah,
it's going to need a little help.
That's exciting.
Living at Frankie's house. I mean, I'm sure Frankie's got plenty of bedrooms.
Freshman, he'll live on campus like everybody does that first year. So,
yeah,
very nice.
He's been taking it serious for about a month now, so he's almost ready. So,
I can't wait for his first tryouts.
Yeah. It's actually, we're going to go bowl some pot games today on something that's relatively flat. It's actually been fun to watch. I've been doing some videos and kind of so I have stuff from week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and honestly, it's kind of fun outside of the dad element. It's fun watching someone who's athletic start from a relative ground zero. He's always bowled, but he hadn't bowled league in 5 years.
Yeah.
Baseball and basketball. And so, in the first week, he bowled more games in that week than he did in the 5 years previous. And so wasn't sure what we were taking on here and what it might look like. But, some of the stuff's starting to come together pretty quickly. And being two-handed, there's some natural advantages to lane play that you get that will not help him at all at qualifying, but
right
on the garbage. But yeah, it's interesting to see how fast it can happen, because I mean I know it has with some other players. I just haven't seen it personally with anybody starting that late.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the biggest thing that none of us have seen yet is the injuries that the two-handers have had. I don't think
it's an issue.
Yeah.
No more than it is for us.
I don't think they bowl enough. I mean, I don't think we bowl enough anymore either. But
I think that's across the board. People quit when they were 35 when I came on tour, and they started cutting back the terms from 35. We were down to 20 by the time, by I guess 2000, and that would have been about the time that Parker and Walter and those guys were around 40. When they cut their schedule almost in half, all of a sudden those guys got 10 more years.
Correct.
Instead of breaking down, they got time to rest. And you have to be in better shape to be two-handed than one-handed. I agree with that completely, and I think you have to do more things to take care of your body maybe than you do one-handed. But I think all the players now are in better shape than they were 10 or 15 years ago. It's part of the evolution of the sport and why guys are better in general. And
why you and I started practicing more different ways and actually started working out probably too. I would have never guessed. I started working out 2 years ago, but 2 years ago I would have never thought, man, I need to lose 10 pounds and have a stronger core and
I was starting to think, is it harder to coach him? This is actually my junior league teammate. We had the high score in the nation at one point, team score in the nation for a mixed team. Michelle, is it harder to coach him being two-handed? No.
It's still a lot of fundamentals.
Yeah, it really, there's some, just like one-handed players, there are things that are different from one-handed players, but there's a lot of commonalities. Again, with how two-handers bowl and one-handers bowl. So, the fun part is just watching him basically hooking around me, having 5 minutes, and he bird dogs the 10, and I'm already getting the business from him.
If anything, I'd venture to say that the father-son relationship makes it harder to coach, not so much him being a two-hander.
Yeah.
I've witnessed that. There was one year I spent Christmas break here in the U.S. when I was in college, and I went to team trials. I was hanging out with Kenny, and Rick was there. Kenny was bowling Team USA trials, so I spent some time with Rick and kind of learning from him, walking around the center, looking at ball motion from Rick's perspective. And he goes up to Kenny, and the father-son thing. He says to Kenny, "You got to do this. This isn't going to work. You got to switch balls and do that." And Kenny just goes, "No, that's not going to work. That's not what I need to be doing." And I'm just next to Rick, and I'm thinking to myself, Rick or Kenny, do you know who your dad is? You shouldn't be arguing with him. He's got a proven track record. I wouldn't argue anything with him.
I don't really get what you're saying, but I know you're right.
Yeah, but the father-son dynamic kind of gets in the way a lot of the times.
Yeah. No, you see some of these people talking about drinking and smoking and stuff. There's definitely less smoking on tour, at least cigarettes. I think other stuff is out there, just hidden better. The drinking, I don't think you have I drink, but I think you don't see us in the bar at the bowling center like they used to back in the 80s and 90s, spending all night there and everything else. I'll have one and I get out of there. I don't mind. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to do it in my hotel room where I'm by myself. I'm not making a fool of myself. I've had some moments that were bad in my younger days on tour and was pulled aside by a few people. Hey, you need to cut it out a little bit. So,
what's some quick thoughts? Thomas Lee Anderson. Now, this is speaking of another world coach that has competed at the highest level, Team Sweden and world titleist. Lots of talk about one and two-handed. What do you think will happen with the game if we took out the kickbacks? It means the sideboards. Over the years, they've gotten more and more responsive, I guess, or pins rebound off them better, as well as the pins themselves. Do you think that would change it?
Absolutely. I think more bird dogs than traditionalists do. I think accuracy becomes a little bit different and more important. Everyone's trying to figure a way to slow the scoring pace down, right? And it's either kickbacks or heavier pins, in my opinion. But I'm not a scientist or a perfectionist either. So,
what do you think, Frankie?
Yeah, I think the same thing. There's so many strikes, whether we realize it or not. There's so many strikes that happen because the head pin gets back onto the deck, or because the six pin hits the right side and takes out the 10. So if those aren't there, I think it's going to be a huge difference in scores if we found a way to have no kickbacks at all.
Huge difference in scores, but do you think the shift between where now more than 50% of the young players seem to be two-handed, do you think that would shift back?
I don't necessarily know. I think the argument that being a two-handed bowler is easier is not 100% valid. I don't think it's easier. I think you have to get good at that no matter what you do. Belmo's not the best in the world because he's a two-hander. He's the best in the world because he's the best in the world. There's a lot of two-handers out there that just never have any success. It doesn't make it easier just to be a two-hander. You still have to be able to repeat shots, you know, learn fundamentals, things like that. Those things don't go away just because you're a two-hander. I don't really like the argument that it makes it a lot easier just being a two-hander. You still, if you can't shoot a spare, you're not gonna score very well, you know. So, yeah, I don't think there's as big a difference as people say.
Shaggy coming in from the cheap seats here. The only reason we bowl well is because the head pin is when the head pin comes back on the deck. So
right.
That's the truth to it, though. In some places,
no, I'm going to take the other side on this because I feel like that also one-handed players will not get. You'll leave more and more half tens than you're getting used to leave, and you know the real advantage of rev rate is the amount of area you can create. And I do think right now, because of the environment, that like a one-hander's pocket, or let's say the three of us, our pocket is really 17 and a half. And that's what we're trying to hit.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation I've had with Ryan is really his pocket is really way closer to 16 and a half. And count on that to happen. Now, if that kickbacks aren't there, you certainly have to move your pocket closer to the head pin. But it just means the tools you use are a little different. You're going to be more like, say, a Kyle Troop or somebody's going to roll it a little bit more and control the shape a little bit more because you can't have 6 degrees of entry and hitting it. At 18, that becomes pretty bad.
I agree with Callahan's comment down here in the messages going on with, you know, the messengers. It's a huge difference. You know, it would be, you know, if you don't have the messenger, like he said, it's not cool. That's why two-handers started doing it, was the rev rate and the coolness of it, the cool effect. You know, you think of golf and what Tiger Woods did. You know, hit it far. Now all these kids in golf just hit it a mile. Bryson DeChambeau, we were talking yesterday. You know, he gained 40 or 50 pounds over the break, and it was all muscle.
Yeah.
Because he wants to hit it farther, and now he hits it 350 yards.
Well, the other thing that makes it work is the house patterns are easy enough. You don't throw it in the gutter when you miss the right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it always hooks a lot. So it always looks cool, even when you're terrible at it at the beginning.
Yeah.
If it went in the gutter and then you missed the head pin left and you hit in the gutter, and then, well, you wouldn't do it for very long. So, the bumpers out there do keep things in play, and that's a combination of balls and lane machines, and it helps the learning curve get you by that early spot. But well, we have gone at the hour mark here, and so we probably should wrap things up. Sean has been through the 10 questions before, so he's going to go through a little. It may not be quite 10. We may actually bring in Frankie for 5 of them just for fun too. And Sean, you're known to be really good with money. So if you had $1 million, what would you do with it right now?
Good with money where? On the casino tables or?
Well, I wasn't. That wasn't for me to say.
Yeah, I knew going. If I had $1 million. You know, I've always been one to want to take care of my family. My brother, my wife, my mom, my in-laws, I would want to take care of all of them first and foremost. And then whatever's left, you know, play with it a little bit there. You know, lucky to win some good cash here over the last couple of weeks. And
rapid fire answers.
Yeah. I take care of my family.
There you go. All right, Frankie, since you haven't actually been out yet, what's the first thing you're going to do after social distancing is over?
Bowl a tournament. I might do that before that's over, depending how long it lasts.
All right, let's see. What's the one thing you can't live without? Sean.
Frankie.
Sean.
Oh, my wife.
Is she listening?
I don't know. I'm actually downstairs. So she keeps me grounded. She takes care of the kids. She does it all. And I know we fight here and there, but man, she's the rock at this house. So
Speaking of which, we need to figure out.
Good answer. She was listening.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know what?
I
I
can
think it's underrated how much smarter you've gotten since you've been on tour.
Hey,
It's what you learn after you know everything, isn't it?
it's amazing what women do to you.
All right, let's see. Frankie, who's the best trash talker?
Dom.
Dom. I think Dom might say you. I think you're very sneaky. Good.
Yeah,
Quiet.
but I wasn't going to say myself.
Oh, now you're going with modesty now.
Yeah.
All right.
But you and Dom are quiet trash talkers. Like quiet.
Yeah, everybody loves Dom. It's it's crazy. I agree with that. We're kind of sneaky in that sense.
Yeah, having room with the BFFs there for the 3-week summer thing. I mean, I already knew it anyway because the Weber Cup, the rules are, the gloves are kind of off anyway. But there's no holds barred there. That is pretty unfiltered most of the time. He just says a little quieter.
Yeah, you need some thick skin, or if you don't to begin with, if you want to stick around, you're gonna have to get some thick skin.
Him, Stu, and Oscu. That'd have been a tough room for me at 25. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I'd add some bruises, some cuts.
Yeah.
I was going to say, all right, Frankie, what's your biggest pet peeve?
I'd say people who chew with their mouths open, loud chewers, loud chewing.
This seems very appropriate for you, Sean. The most famous person in your phone. If you can keep it down to 5, I'd appreciate it.
Jesus Christ. You asked me this last time.
I know. Well, you have so many, it's fair. The rest of us all say like Jason Maloney or somebody like that. And
I mean, it's got to be Mookie Betts.
No. I mean all the other people.
It's Mookie. I mean, he's the biggest name one of the biggest names in baseball, and huge in our sport. I mean, he's got to be.
Direct Al CJ or Chris Paul. You got.
I don't have Chris Paul. I have his brothers, but you got to know people, right? So.
All right, Frankie. If you call one person and they answer, you die. Who are you gonna call?
Man, I never even use my phone, so I don't know who picks up and who doesn't. I use my phone for everything other than what the phone is intended. I'm gonna go with Sloan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. One thing you've tried that you'll never do again.
That one for Sean?
That one could be for both of you, I think.
Go ahead, Sean.
Man. It had to be like eating food in Asia. Oh God, just thinking about that day just makes me sick.
Yeah. I would say when I was a kid, we had what's it called? I don't know what it is in English. Like when you have a pool, but it's not in the ground, it's just like above ground. Yeah, we had an above ground pool, and there was a beehive underneath the edge of it. So I thought that it would be okay to just go out there with my tennis racket and to just whack at it. So I'll probably never do that again. I will say it was the middle of the summer, but I was semi-smart about it because I put on some winter clothes and tried to get some padding around me, but they still got to me.
Your makeshift beehive, a bee suit
didn't work.
Sean, when's the last time you partied all night?
Last night. We had a session on Monday night last night.
That was an answer I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither did I.
All right.
That's what I was gonna say.
I didn't expect it either. I got to go play 9 holes of golf yesterday, and we came home, and they had a food truck in our street down the block. And the 3-4 couples that we hang out with, we just had an impromptu hangout in the driveway, and kids ran around for a few hours. And the boys and I got out my propane heater. We hung out for a few hours, and I think I went to bed about midnight.
All right, Frankie, my significant other gives the best blank.
Massages.
It's not haircuts.
Well dodged. Well dodged. All right, Sean. So in theory, if you were actually able to make a boy, what name would you be? What would you name it?
We had a couple names. Ethan was one of our favorites. I like Ethan. And I guess I can say him now because I think we're done now. But we liked Ian as well. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying that now that I know that my wife's listening. But those were the 2 names that I liked.
What, because she didn't know you're done?
I'm done. That is for sure. Actually, I would love to have one more, but since we're not bowling and making much money, well, I mean, a whole lot of money, I think we're done. And we need a bigger house, so.
Gonna need a bigger boat. There you go. I saw one here. What? Frankie has a girlfriend?
Surprisingly.
Oh,
We just never see her.
he's got a great one, actually.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that wraps things up here today. And Sean, I appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on your big win and recovering from that beating Frankie gave you on that U.S. Open show.
A beating, Jesus.
It was, I mean, an entire game after the felt like 82 game qualifying to get there on that one. So
I mean, he is the only one on this show that's beaten me, though. He is the only one that's beaten me on this show for a title.
I get it. I mean, you had a tough time making those shows when I was making them all the time. So. There we go. So, in any event, I appreciate any parting words or parting shots, as the case might be.
Yeah, you're the only one throwing shots. You're the best at it on this group. But no,
I don't know about that.
Miss Stu today. Everyone knows that Stu and I like to chime back and forth. So hopefully he's doing well with his family and in-laws. But I hope you guys are doing well, staying safe in your respective cities, and get the bowl soon. And make sure to tune in to CBS in July and Flow for the Lucy. And can't wait to see more news on when we all get to bowl more events.
Francois?
Oh, I'm going to keep it nice and short. This has gone on long enough. Time to put an end to this.
All right. This brings a lot of mystery here. Once again, thank our sponsors. In this case, it's Storm, Roto Grip, as you can read across the bottom. 900 Global, Vice Turbo, Logo Infusion, Cool Whip, 3G Shoes, Dexter Master, probably Robbie's, Steel Finger.
Buddy's Pro Shop.
Buddy's Pro Shop. Ace Mitchell, and anybody else that's ever been involved in bowling. So
yeah.
For that, hey, stay safe out there, stay healthy, support your local businesses, and God bless.
See you guys.
See you later.